Welcome to the Spiritual Lifting YouTube channel. My name is Israetel, your host, and in this video we are going to discuss frequency in resistance training and how do we manage frequency in our programming strategy at Spiritual Lifting. First of all, what is frequency? Frequency is the amount of exposure to training in a given period of time. In the resistance training context, this usually means how often you train a certain muscle group per week. As we get the definition out of the way, let's take a look at an example program. Here is what I would like to call a bro split style of program. If we observe the frequency in this program, we have chest with the frequency of once a week, leg once a week, and back once per week. Now, muscle usually takes about 48 to 72 hours to recover from a training session. Let's observe the back session on Friday. This would mean that the back would probably be fully recovered by Sunday or Monday. However, we still leave the back untrained until the next Friday rolls around, which might not be an optimal way to train if maximizing hypertrophy is your goal. Therefore, training with the frequency of more than once per week may be a better alternative. As supported by a systematic review by Brad Schoenfeld in 2015, training with the frequency of 2 to 3 times per week usually yield a better result than training with just once per week, even if the total weekly volume is equal. Now, what does that mean? Again, let's take a look at the back session on Friday. This would mean that instead of having all 16 sets of back in one particular session, we would do better if we were to split these 16 sets into multiple sessions across the week, which can look something like this. Now, beside the time frame that the muscle takes to recover, there's also other reasons why we would want to do this. If you're having 16 sets of one particular muscle group in one particular session, the acute fatigue that accumulates toward the end of that session is going to be so high that the quality of your exercise execution is going to suffer. This would mean that form will likely to break down, you would swing the weight around more using more momentum, and you would not end up working the correct muscle that you intend to. On top of that, because of the fatigue is high toward the end, you will be forced to reduce the weight, which in general reduces the stimulus that forces the adaptation that we're looking for, which is muscle growth. That being said, there's also an upper limit to how often we can train per week before we start to run into overtraining issues because we're not able to recover adequately due to the fact that we're training too often. How much frequency can we tolerate? That varies from person to person. It depends on your size, the size of that particular muscle group, your genetic, biological gender, nutrition, sleep, where you are in your menstrual cycle, birth control, performance enhancing drugs, medication, and the list goes on. If you are a 120 kilos male elite powerlifter, the absolute load that you use in your training is going to be so high that it generates so much fatigue, so you would take a long time span to recover from your training session. As a result of that, you won't be able to train as frequently during the week. Conversely, if you are a middle-aged mom of 2 who train with weight for general health purposes, the absolute load that you use in your training might not be that high. So the fatigue that is generated from your training session is also not going to be that high, so you would need a shorter time span to recover from your training session. As a result of that, you will be able to train more frequently throughout the week. At Spiritual Lifting, our programming strategy is influenced by the volume landmark model by Dr. Mike Israetel. I will include a link to that model down below if you want to have a read. I will include a link to a series of YouTube video of him explaining that model. And if you want to learn more about programming for resistance training in general, I would highly recommend reading the book, The Scientific Principle of Strength Training by the team from Juggernaut Training System. And if you find this video helpful, please leave us a like or share it around on social media with your friends. That would really help us a lot. We do appreciate that. And if you have any questions regarding the topic that we discussed today, feel free to send us a message on Instagram at spiritual_lifting. We're also happy to discuss any stuff that is lifting related or even philosophy, the meaning of life, all that good stuff. And lastly, we do offer online coaching at Spiritual Lifting. We do individualized program and nutritional guidance. We specialize in strength, muscle building, fat loss, improving body composition, or if you just want to get jacked and sexy as fuck for your next transmission. If you're interested in getting coached by us or have any questions on our coaching services, feel free to send us a message again on Instagram, spiritual_lifting, or you can email me at yasilhockley@gmail.com. Done!